This is a Groovy Boys production.
Hey guys, I'm your host, Mason Baugh, and welcome to The Lookup. I'm joined here by my co-host, Jackson Phelps. What's up, Jackson?
Hey guys.
And my producer, Anthony Marti.
What's up?
Today we have a very special guest. He's an Emmy award-winning reporter and sports anchor for FOX4 Kansas City. It's Rob Collins. How are you doing, man?
Hey guys, great. Thanks for having me. Appreciate y'all letting me on here. This is awesome what you're doing. I love it. Keep doing it.
I appreciate it, man. Thank you
you.
so much. So just kind of starting off with the basics here. Just first question is, where did you get your start in broadcasting?
My first broadcasting job was actually in college, back at East Texas State back in 1993. Now it's called Texas A&M at Commerce. They had a TV station there like a lot of the high schools and the smaller colleges and big colleges do right now. So that's where I first started my dream of being a sports anchor, a television anchor. I knew I wanted to do this since I was probably 12 or 13 years old. I wanted to be a professional athlete like most every other kid that age, but God didn't bless me with the skills or the height or the strength to do that. So I figured if I couldn't be a pro athlete, then I could probably talk about it.
So
That's really cool.
Speaking of Texas A&M, so are you natively from Texas?
I am. I'm originally from Bowie, Texas, which is in north central Texas, somewhat in between Fort Worth and Wichita Falls. I was born in Wichita Falls, but my hometown is Bowie, Texas, and I grew up in the country out there. I actually grew up on a dairy farm. So
Awesome.
I was milking cows and shoveling manure before the school bus came when I was a little bit younger than you guys. So I know what hard work looks like, and I knew I didn't want to do that all my life. So going to school is a good thing for me.
How'd you land up in Kansas City, though?
In television, it's kind of like I tell people, TV jobs are kind of like coaching jobs. You go where someone hires you, right? So after I graduated college from Texas A&M Commerce, East Texas State, whichever you want to call it, I got a job in Sherman, Texas, which was near there, right out of school. And I worked there for a little while. Then I worked in Rockford, Illinois. I also worked in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And then I worked in Champaign, Illinois for 16 years. And it was kind of ironic because when I was in Champaign, Illinois, Bill Self was the coach of the basketball team at U of I. Also, Bruce Weber was the coach of U of I. So I've known those guys for a long time.
Oh, that's really
cool. And then I got a
Awesome.
job here in Kansas City about 8 years ago.
I'm sure that gives you a lot of insight into the college basketball scene, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I've known those guys. Those guys are two awesome guys, and I've known them for a while. And it's just kind of weird that how things work out. You know, it's just TV's a small world. You guys will know this when you're big timers, when you get into it. TV is a small world. You know people from all over the place. And actually, Lon Kruger was a coach at Illinois as well. So all three of those guys are in the Big 12 here. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. So I know that you were regularly a news anchor in the past. What was the transition from a news anchor to now a sports director?
Yeah, it was interesting because when I first started my career, I was in news. I just wanted a job. You know, I'd do anything to get into TV. So I would tell you guys, be as versatile as you can be if you want to get a job in media, because right now, you know, honestly, the way it goes is the more you can do, the more marketable you can be. Just say, basically think of Whit Merrifield. He can play so many positions, right?
Yeah.
So if you can be like a Whit Merrifield, you can shoot video, you can edit video, you can write copy, you can do stand-ups, you can anchor. You'll be so valuable and marketable to do that. So that's how I got my first job, because I learned all that in college and I was able to do that. So I got my foot in the door, as you'll hear people say all the time. So when I got my foot in the door, then I just kind of figured out the track I wanted to take. And then I went to sports. And I traveled with the team, like I said, when I was at the University of Illinois station in Champaign, Illinois. We traveled a lot, and then I got married and had young children. And that was pretty tough on the family life. So I had a great news director who allowed me to kind of move to the mornings. So I went to the morning show, and I basically worked from 4 a.m. to noon anchoring the morning show. And then I did that here, the first part, when I got to Kansas City for several years. And then whenever our main sports guy at that time, Al Wallace, left, they came to me and they offered me the job, and I took it because I had a sports background. So it was kind of a natural progression for me. So, you know, family life, you know, when you get a wife and a couple kids, man, it changes your outlook. And Kansas City was a great place that we wanted to be because it's an awesome place to raise a family. and we've been
Right.
here 8.5 years, and we love it.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah. So speaking of you like covering sports and you being the main sports guy at Fox 4, what has it been like for the last few months before there was sport, like in between time when sports got canceled and now where there's the NBA bubble, there's the MLB season. What was it like between there having to cover sports when there were no sports on?
Yeah, it was tough. I don't know if you guys saw our backyard sports segment, but that's a segment that we
Yes.
came up
Mhm.
with because
Mhm.
we had asked people, hey, we know you're quarantined, we know you're at home, we know your kids and you guys are still playing outside, so send us some videos. That way we can
Yeah.
kind of show people are still doing things and we can relate to viewers in that way. And it was fun. I loved it. And I hope we keep doing that. But we've gotten away from that a little bit because sports are reoccurring, as you mentioned there. But it was tough. I mean, there were a couple of times where my weekend guy, my right-hand man, Harold Kuntz, went out and covered some news, and a lot of other sports guys had to cover some news because there was a lot of news going on, obviously with COVID and everything else that was happening. It was pretty tough coming up. I mean, we only have basically 2.5 minutes when we're on at 6, 9, and 10. And some of those nights, it was a bit of a struggle to come up with 2.5 minutes. But now that we're getting back going, hopefully everything stays okay and we keep games going. But it was a bit of a struggle. But backyard sports was a lot of fun, and a lot of people liked it. We had a lot of submissions and a lot of viewers sending a lot of video, and they've been asking actually, when are we going to bring it back? And I hope we do that soon.
Yeah, I liked
Yeah,
it.
yeah. You mentioned backyard sports a little bit. So, is there a video anyone sent in that you guys aired that sticks out in your mind as like that was the coolest thing during
There
backyard
are
sports?
several. There were some pretty good golf shots, and one kid sent himself in riding a bucking bronco, which hit home to me because I grew up on a farm, man. I've ridden the horses and bulls, and I grew up on a farm, and I'm like, this kid is amazing. And actually, that kid, I think, won a prize and sold his steer at the 4-H deal. So it was pretty cool. There's been a lot of great ones, and I appreciate all the folks for playing along and sending that in.
Yeah, that's really cool.
That's awesome. What is going off of like you covering sports again? What is your favorite sport to cover?
I love football. I mean, I grew up in Texas. I played high school football. I don't know if any of you guys have ever played under the Friday Night Lights, but there's nothing like playing football in a small town. I'm from a small town, like I said, Bowie, Texas, only 5,000 people. So it's basically when Friday football is going on, all the businesses shut down. Every single person's at the game. I know there are small places around the Kansas City Metro that are like that, but there's nothing like football on any level, high school, college, no matter the division, and obviously the pros, like the Chiefs Super Bowl banner you got back there. There's nothing like being in the atmosphere of football.
I play football, and I'm just kind of curious, like, what position did you play when you played high school football?
Well, I like to say that I played end, guard, and tackle. I sat at the end of the bench. I guarded anybody who came near the water bottles, and if they got too close, I tackled them. That was my job. No, actually, I played cornerback and cornerback, but I didn't play a whole lot because I'm not the biggest guy in the world, so I didn't play a whole lot in high school, but I was out there, so I wasn't a starter or anything like that. So I had a lot of time on the bench to observe, and I honestly think that helped me out just being a sports broadcaster because you got a different angle and you can see things in a different light.
Right, you have the player's perspective, and you have the guy sitting on the sideline watching the player's perspective.
Yeah, 100%, man.
So, you said football is your favorite thing you've ever covered. So I may know your answer to this question, but what is your favorite major event you've ever covered? Because we know you have covered everything from the Super Bowl to the Final Four to the World Series. So what is your favorite one of those?
I'll tell you what, covering that Super Bowl from the Kansas City Chiefs, knowing that it's been 50 years since the Chiefs won that. And, growing up, I was a Dallas Cowboy fan because, that's where I grew up and it's ingrained in Texas. You're pretty much a Dallas Cowboy fan if you're in North Central Texas. But I was also a fan of the Dallas Texans when I was a kid. And then we know the history between the Dallas Texans and the Kansas City Chiefs. So it was awesome for me to be a fan of both of those. But the spectacle of the Super Bowl, you guys know, there's nothing like the spectacle of the Super Bowl. Although the Indy 500 and the Daytona 500 are pretty darn close, but there's nothing like being there in the Super Bowl.
Awesome.
Yeah. Um, so I saw that you are an Emmy Award winner. If you wouldn't mind sharing, what was it like earning that award? Like, was there anything you had to do to earn it? Like, how did you get it?
Sure. Yeah. How the Emmys work is basically there's several categories that you can submit, for sports, news, a whole lot of different things. So we did that. It was a team coverage thing. And the cool thing about it that I like the most is that was a team award. There were so many people that won that award for team coverage of flooding. And as I mentioned, when there are no sports, like our other sports guy, Harold, went out and covered news. And that day we were all covering news because, when weather happens, like the hurricane that's going on right now in Texas and Louisiana, when that happens, everything stops. And that's the big story. And we were covering that, trying to help people. And we rescued people live on the air that day. They were stuck. And we had helicopter coverage and we had people going in to get those guys out of there. And we brought that to folks live on TV. And that's how we won that Emmy. And I'm proud of that Emmy because, again, it was a team Emmy. So that's what's
awesome.
special to me about it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
That's
really
awesome.
cool. I'm sure that story was, whenever you see a story, it's not like you're just like that story specifically. You see films of people getting saved in floods and everything, but whenever it's the people and it's the reporters and everything doing it, that's I'm sure that's insane.
Yeah, man, it hits home when you know the people and it's your area, because you guys see the stuff on TV in Texas and Louisiana right now, and you're like, man, that's too bad. I feel bad for those people. But when it's your friends and neighbors and maybe family, it really hits home, and it really hits you. So it was great to bring that coverage to the folks.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome.
you started your career in Texas, and I know you have a lot of experience in other places in the country. So what would you say are the differences between those places like Illinois and Texas, the differences between that and Kansas City, where you are now?
You know what? Growing up in Texas, people are super friendly. And I just turned on a light here. I'm outside, so it's like I'm at a flashlight by the campfire where you guys are telling campfire stories. Sorry about that. I didn't think it was going to get dark this fast. I must not have been paying attention to the weather guy. Sorry, Joe. But yeah, people in Kansas City remind me of people in Texas. They're so friendly and people are so helpful. And Kansas City, really, it's a big city, right? So, market number 32 across the country. But I think it's a small knit community where a lot of people know people, even from different towns, whether you're in Overland Park or you're in KCK or you're in KC Mo or you're in Shawnee. I think people because you see them all over the place. And I think there's a sense of community here in Kansas City. And I think that's why a lot of people gravitate toward it. It's Midwest, Midwestern people are pretty much nice all around the board.
Yeah. And speaking about like how you've your job has been in other places like around the country, what is the most rewarding part of your job?
I think the most rewarding part of my job is telling other people's stories who may not have a chance to get their stories told. There are a lot of stories out there, and there are a lot of stories that honestly we don't know unless someone tells us something that's happening, right? And when you can tell a story of someone and be the voice for someone, that's super gratifying, because otherwise those people wouldn't be heard. And when you can translate someone's story to the masses and tell their stories, that's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, for sure.
Is there a story that sticks out in your mind where someone was, you were able to tell their story like you just said? Is there any story in particular that really touched you in that way?
There are a lot of them. This is year 25 for me, and I'll tell you, after you've been in the TV business that long, a lot of things kind of mesh together. But just the stories of overcoming, the stories of hope, the stories of that make you feel good inside. Those are my favorite stories, and I've covered a bunch of those. Whether it be sports, whether it be a guy coming back from injury, maybe tore his ACL, or maybe he had a broken arm, or someone who's been downtrodden and they found their way and they persevered and made their way back. There's several stories like that I've covered over the years that just shows the human spirit. And anytime you can show the human spirit elevated and the human spirit winning, I think that's a great story, whether it's sports, weather, news, anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that rings true for most most people in news because you don't want to report on these really sad things like say a hurricane or crime all the time. You want to report on things that happen that are good, great for your community and great for the people in your community.
Yeah, unfortunately though, that stuff you just mentioned kind of leads the newscast because that's what's going on and people need to know about it. But you're right, those human element stories are awesome, and that's a segment that we have on our thing called Tell Me Something Good in our morning show, and they pass along a lot of those stories, and that's well worth it. And I think viewers like that because they don't want to hear all the bad all the time.
Yeah, for sure. So at the end of our show, around the tail end of our show, we have some quick questions, some not as long-winded questions. So we'll ask you a few of those here.
All right, the rapid fire. You starting the clock?
So I saw that you really like barbecue because what person from Kansas City in Texas doesn't love barbecue, right?
100%.
In Kansas City, what is your favorite barbecue restaurant?
Well, you know what? It's tricky. I know you're trying to get me to say one, but I like different things from different places, right? Like I like brisket from certain place. I like the burnt ends from a certain place.
I respect
like
that.
Ribs from a certain place. So and I'm a sauce guy. So I like sauces from different places too. And some things, if you do it right, you don't need sauce. I understand that. I mean, I have a grill behind me. I have a smoker. I have another grill underneath my deck. So I'm all over it, man. I like different things. I know that's a political answer, probably not what you wanted, but I like to sample all of them, man.
Heck
So,
yeah.
like in your fridge right now, what is the most versatile barbecue sauce? You can put this on most things and it would make it taste delicious.
Ooh, in my refrigerator, what barbecue sauce do I have right now? Well, I have some really hot and spicy Zarda sauce, and I'm a hot and spicy guy.
Okay.
I love everything spicy. So, I mean, I put barbecue sauce on hamburgers, pork chops, obviously the barbecue as well. So I would say the Zarda, the ghost pepper Zarda sauce is my favorite, but I like it hot.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I like Zarda too. Zarda's a good brand for barbecue sauce. I like it.
Yeah, barbecue is so ingrained in Kansas City that I think every time we have someone on, which majority of the time will be from Kansas City, I definitely need to ask them about barbecue and barbecue sauce and things like that because everyone will have some sort of an answer. Everyone will have some input for sure.
Yeah, sure, man. And Kansas City barbecue is the best, and I'll probably get some heat for this, but Texas brisket is better than anything here in Kansas City, and I'm a Texan, so I got to say that. But I'll tell you what, pulled pork, almost everything else is better in Kansas City other than the brisket, but that's just me.
We'll take that.
Okay, sweet.
So you talked about this a little bit earlier, and you didn't directly answer this question, but I'll ask you. What would you say to yourself if you were our age? We're all 15 years old.
Yeah, I would say, again, be as versatile as you can. Because I remember when I was 15, I was just, focused on sports and grades. But again, I go back to the Whit Merrifield analogy. The more that you guys can do in your current position, the more that you can learn and be versatile, the more you're going to be at the top of the list for people who are trying to hire you if you want to be in television or radio, because things have changed. You're doing everything. We're in a big market here in Kansas City, and some of our main guys are shooting their own stuff, they're editing our own stuff, and a lot of times that's not the case. It wasn't the case in previous years when I was coming up. The main guy basically just read, right? Someone else would write the copy, someone else would cut the video, someone else would shoot the video. Now one person's doing all of that. So, be as versatile as you can. Like if y'all go camping, you're not going to take like a wrench, a knife, a screwdriver. You're going to get a Swiss Army knife, right? Because everything is on it. Be a Swiss Army knife.
Yeah. Yeah. If I see a common thread between the things that we ask similar questions to that in every episode, and I see a common thread between all of these successful people. They all say things like that. Multiple of them have said, be as versatile as possible in your field, know as much as possible, because like you said earlier, that'll make you more marketable in your field. That'll make you, if you open up more opportunities. So I like that a lot.
I think that's true in any field, especially in journalism.
Yeah, that's awesome. So we have a recurring segment on our show, and our segment is called The Wheel.
Okay.
And what the wheel is we customize a wheel for our guests. So
Oh, nice.
our last episode was John Holt,
Okay.
and we gave him a wheel of some assorted FOX4 personalities, and we asked him to just give us a little like
Oh,
maybe inside story or a little bit of insight, about your personal experience with that person, because I know
all right.
all you guys at FOX4 are kind of a family, even if you don't,
Sure. A big family.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
I'm gonna share my screen, and you'll be able to see this.
Okay.
The wheel we have is
All right. While you spin that wheel, I'm going to turn on light because it's getting a little bit dark back here.
all right.
Like Wheel of Fortune
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
Pressure Luck. You guys are too young for Pressure Luck, but you probably have heard No Whammies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's
I've seen a video of a guy cheating on it.
Oh, yeah, when he hit 5,000 and spin every time?
Uh-huh.
He figured it out. He did the
Mhm.
algorithm.
All right, I'm gonna spin this wheel. As you can see, FOX4 personalities on it. Hopefully, I didn't
All
put
right.
you on here, so it doesn't spin you. But I'll.
Well, good. I don't
I'll
want to
spin it for
tell him
this
myself. Survey says no whammies, no whammies, no whammies, and stop.
Michelle Bogowitz.
I tell you what, Bogo is awesome. Bogo is a huge sports fan, and you know probably as well as anybody else, she would love this shirt you're wearing because she's all over the MIZ. That's
Yes,
Michelle
sir.
Bogowitz. So she is good. I tell you what, Michelle and a couple of other guys and I and girls, we played a celebrity softball tournament with the dudes from Florida Georgia Line several years ago,
Ugh.
and Bogowitz was a beast. She was our like MVP, man. We should have batted her cleanup. I think we had her down in the lineup, but if she would have been batting cleanup, we would have caked everybody. She was so good. She's awesome. She just had a baby and recently married. So Bogo is a really cool person. I like her a lot.
I've been talking to her in emails, and I think we're gonna get her on the show at some point. Maybe next week, maybe the week after that. So I'm excited about that for sure.
You should. And I tell you what, she loves barbecue. And if you ever get challenged by her in an eating contest, don't do it, man. She's like that Black Widow lady. I forgot her name. You know, the hot dog lady, the Black Widow. I forget her real name. But Bogowitz is so tiny and small, but she's like one of those people that can tear you up. I saw her eat a rib challenge on our morning show once, and she dusted the dude, man. She's a cool person to hang out with and watch sports for sure.
That's really cool. I love your nickname for her too, Bogo.
Yeah, Bogo.
Bogo.
Everyone calls her Bogo.
All right, next spin.
Oh boy, here we go. No whammies and big.
Mark Alford.
Mark Alford. Mark is my dude. Mark and I have a lot of good times. He's a Texas guy. He's from Houston, and Mark and I we put on those hot dog contest things. You know, you see at the Royals game where they race around.
Yeah.
We raced those in the back of the parking lot at FOX4 once on the morning show. Those things are hard to see. And, you know, we make fun of those guys for when they can't run fast or when those guys, you know, eat it. But it is really hard to see. And I'll tell you what, Mark is a diminutive dynamo. He's, you know, I'm going to say it because he's my guy. He's a little vertically challenged. But that dude's fast. I was surprised how fast he was. I thought he was going to beat me, and I had to kick it into high gear. But I was wearing cowboy boots, so I'll give myself a little bit of grace there. But Mark's a really cool dude, and we've had a lot of good times on the golf course and a lot of good times, you know, behind the scenes at the studio, just hanging around. So he's a pretty cool dude.
I absolutely love the visual of you and Mark Alford running.
That
through the
video,
parking
it's
lot.
on YouTube somewhere, I believe, or on our website. I don't know. It was we ran from the parking lot into a fence, and then we came back, and it kind of looked like I pushed him, but I couldn't see. So I was reaching out to hit the fence so I wouldn't face plant into the fence. But I think I may have pushed him into the fence. I don't know. We'll have to go to the tape.
Controversial call. Controversial
Yeah,
call.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got VAR. We got to review it.
I think we're gonna do one last spin here and
All right.
see what you have to say about this last.
I see you got Kathy Quinn on there twice. I like that. I like KQ. Everybody says, Kipper.
Kim Burns.
Kim was awesome. When I first started here, as you guys talked about earlier, I was in news, and Kim Burns was my co-anchor, and Kim helped me out big time. With how to pronounce certain cities, or who was who in government and every other place. So Kim is a really cool person, and we've had a lot of fun times together when I first started here. She's really cool. Although I'm kind of sad because I don't get to see Kim or Mark anymore because, I'm not on the morning show. And honestly, I'm not really up that early anymore when they're on because, they're on starting at 4 a.m. My gosh, that's super early now because work until 11 o'clock at night. I don't get home until, 11 or so. And then I'm not in bed until 1 or so. But Kim is really cool. And Kim's, she's got some juice. She may not show it all the time on the air, but she's pretty cool. That's
really cool. That's really cool.
Yeah.
I like you pointed out my 2 Kathy Quinns on my wheel. I did not even notice that.
No, that's okay. Hey, Kathy Quinn deserves to be there twice. KQ is awesome. I love Kathy Quinn. She's one of my favorite people at our station.
Yeah, funny you say that. That's going to be probably most likely our next guest.
Oh, good.
So, I'm excited about that.
Will you tell Kathy that I said that she's one of my favorite people at FOX4 and see what she says about that?
Awesome.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's basically.
Dallas. Sorry, my dog Dallas.
Yep.
She's barking. Come here, girl. Oh, she went.
All right, so I think we're gonna be wrapping things up here. So the thing we ask all of our guests before the show ends is if you were to say something to the people that look up to you, as the show is called The Look Up Show. We look up to you. We interview people
Appreciate
we
it.
look up to. If there's one thing you could say to all the people that look up to you or the people that follow you, what would that be?
I would say don't let anyone tell you that you can't do anything. No matter what it is, man. If you put your mind to it, you set your heart to do something, you can do it because, I'm living proof of that. I put myself through college. I worked 2 or 3 jobs. I was a janitor at a gym in college, guys. I did that for 2 years in college, just cleaning up sweat and mopping bathroom floors and cleaning out showers from people at a gym. You've been to a gym. You know how nasty that is. So I did that while I was going through college. I also changed ink in a printing press on a newspaper just so I could pay for college and get to it because, I grew up somewhat poor. My parents couldn't pay for college. So they told me, you're going to college. We can't pay for it. Just figure out a way. You can always figure out a way to get anything accomplished that you want if you put your mind to it and don't let anyone detract you. Don't listen to that noise. Stay laser focused on your goals and you'll get it.
That's awesome, man. I really appreciate that.
Yes, thank you.
I think this will be about wrapping up our show. So thank you so much, Rob, for coming on.
Yeah, man.
This has been great. I've loved this
thank you.
show. So thank you, everybody, for watching and listening, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.
See you
Guys,
guys.
appreciate it. I got to tell ghost stories now. I feel like I'm at a camp out. Who's got s'mores?
This is a Groovy Boys production.